Hello, and welcome back into the Path to LCS channel. We are here for more LCS Challengers League, and this one has playoffs implications on the line. Supernova, they are fighting valiantly to avoid the promotion relegation tournament, while AOE, they're pretty much, no, I think they are guaranteed into the playoffs outside of an absolute miracle run from one of the teams. It's more for seeding that they are going to be playing for. So looking over towards you, Eric, on these two teams and how playoffs can really impact everything going on.
So I'm not sure if AOE is locked in just yet, but it would take some miracle runs.
AOE is locked in.
I think
you're right. I actually just looked at the wins. Yeah, with that last series, yeah, AOE should be locked in.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. They are locked in because MU and Taco both went 0-2 today.
Yeah, there's no way they can get 14.
It makes it impossible. So AOE now is 100% guaranteed into the playoffs.
That final spot, it is still highly contentious, man. I mean, anyone could really take that. And again, this puts those big implications on the same match we've been talking about all day, which is going to happen tomorrow. That's at Team Fish Taco versus Maryville University.
Yeah, but we got to talk about, look who's 8th place, Supernova.
Yes, thank you.
They have already done it. They have to win at least one game for them to keep it there, because when it comes to head-to-head, Maryville still have them beat. But the win against DSG yesterday is what put them in this position now. All they need is one win today to lock themselves at 8th place, at least until tomorrow.
Well, it'll lock them almost guaranteed, dependent on the MU Taco game, of course, because that one, it's so crazy how important that game is going to be for everything. Yeah. It will decide how playoffs are and the last team that will make it in. But this game also can be just as important. Say Supernova gets a 2-0 today. That immediately
crazy.
That would blow everyone's expectations out of the water, as well as guarantee them a spot here in playoffs.
They have 11 wins now. It's not guaranteed, actually.
It's a 2-0. It's a 2-0.
If they 2-0,
and then even if they 0-2, they would have a tie. Oh yeah, right. They'd have a tie with Maryville because it would be a 2-0.
Exactly.
And then they'd have
Magical. I'm gonna explain it to you right now.
Okay, thank you.
If Supernova 2-0 right now, not only will they be in 8th place at the end of the day, Maryville have to 2-0 tomorrow. And that is the only way Supernova will not be in playoffs. So basically, Supernova have this opportunity, as they've had all weekend, to have destiny in their own hands, and they have been taking it.
Big brain over here. Look at this guy. This guy's got the big brain going on right now. Now, Eric, I think you have a little presentation. You want to show the class really quick?
Yeah. So don't mind me. I'm Dean Deserux today. So let's go ahead and pull up the Supernova pickup truck once again. This is something we worked on last week. Trevor's the Vin Diesel. He's the driver of this pickup truck, if you missed that. Music's the engine, Quacker the plow, Robbie the tires, and the Giga extended bed for Sketch to be taken over to the mid to late game to actually show up. But how do we improve this even more? Well,
improve it more.
We saw yesterday just how, when they went against, what was it, FlyQuest, was it? That they DSG. Thank you. Went against DSG. You're right. And you had Quacker completely clapping the top side. Guess what? We improved our plow.
I love it.
Oh, nice.
That's beautiful. I mean, 10 out of 10.
The man just demolished Fake God up there, especially, which was impressive considering he got, kind of clapped the first time these two did face off. Sure. We also need another improvement here that we have thrown on. It is the Robbie Bob chained tires this time. DSG focused a lot of their attention onto Robbie, and even though he went down a few times, it didn't really get anything big for DSG to beat them. Now, finally, we got the last thing we got to throw in for Sketch. He was playing Draven. He is no longer... He's not a passenger princess. Okay. He's a passenger king.
Hey, love it. All right.
He cashed in big time, man.
I like how it's got throne written on the side of it as well. Yeah. I love those little graphic you have here, Eric, but we do got to move on. We got to now talk about AOE Gold, because this is the team going into this final week. We're red hot, but yesterday they came to a screeching halt up against Cincinnati Fear when they got 0-2 to beat.
Right, and this is a reminder, I said it during the broadcast today, but this is the situation like we saw in Game 1 from Fear. They came back because the early game, the mid game, it was all AoEs, but at the end, one big team fight from Cincinnati Fear in both games turned it around. I think AoE overall are still on the upswing. They look a lot better than they did in that first round robin. And I don't think that is going to change today. They are still going to be a difficult opponent for Supernova, who don't have playoffs locked and are trying to get there.
And Beat, I believe you also have something you'd like to present to the class.
I'm so glad you asked. Yes, I do. Because I also have a card for AOE to represent what's been going on, and it's right here. Wait for it. The car's coming.
Wait for it. Waiting for it.
And there it is. The pit crew is coming through, fixing the problems that came out during the first round robin. And AOE, they're looking like a new team. And I gotta say, the funniest thing about that is when I asked Will what changed, he said they just kind of woke up.
Yeah, I mean, it has felt like they have woken up in this latter half of the split. They were, I think, tied going into yesterday as the best record in the second part of the round robins with FlyQuest, but now they are in second place because they got 0-2'd yesterday. But it's still a strong team, and when we kind of look at them, Will is someone I think that gets a lot of attention for AOE, but I also want to kind of focus the attention from Supernova, where we focus a lot on Quacker, over into the bot lanes and the supports for each side of this matchup, because I feel like both of them have kind of been spoon-feeding everyone in a lot of these fights. They're like, all right, carries, here you go. Eat your snacks here. It's okay. Get nice and big and fed in all these team fights. Right, Eric?
Yeah, that's why we made Trevor Vin Diesel, and he cares about family and all of that.
Exactly.
But getting onto that point for Trevor, I mean, I really do like Trevor as a support, even with Supernova being in the towards the bottom of the standings right now. One, he's one of the better shot callers, provided a lot for Cincinnati Fear during their run last spring. Still trying to do that over with Supernova. Two, as you said, Magical, he's really good at spoon feeding, why was that word hard for me to say, the rest of the squad of Supernova to try and make sure that they are going to get ahead, that he can sync up and get these engages going for the squad.
And like Trevor has been just consistently one of these stronger supports in that tier 2 scene. Someone who's constantly overlooked when it comes to making it onto challengers teams or academy when we were currently going through that system in years past. And his first opportunity at this level was on Cincinnati Fear, and he showed why he deserved that chance in the first place. And I think even though Supernova have had a bit of a troubling time throughout this entire split, Trevor is still a bright spot on this team.
Yeah, but then switching over to the other side of the rift, looking at Breezy. And Breezy, he's always been a support that I've been really big on. Oh, yeah. This guy, I think, has always been... It sucks, he's always been kind of been like the second best support we've had in Academy and Challengers, because there always seems to have been one person that was always just slightly better than him. But that's still second best consistently going into this beat.
He's played at a consistently high level for these last couple of years, and I actually got to talk to him. It's very interesting to hear his perspective on his career, his trajectory, and he said he actually credits a lot of his leadership capabilities to the time he spent on C9 Amateur years ago, and how he was able to learn to take that lead role because he was working with a lot of newer players at the time. That is experience he brought over to CLG, which was doing pretty good last split and the end of last year when he was playing with Meech, and he's brought it over here as well to AOE because he is still that voice, that leadership role on the team, and the support I really think deserves to be considered for that next level.
All right, and everyone out there, let us know in chat who you think is going to take this first game between Supernova and AOE. Do you expect the upset from Supernova, or will AOE continue their domination in the second part of the round robins? Eric, Pete, you guys get us into this game and get us underway for our second series of the day.
All I'm going to say is that a truck is a little bit more durable than a car. You know, if they end up crashing together, I'm just saying Supernova's beat-up truck might still start.
This is a race, unfortunately, as it is the race to playoffs. So I gotta say, in that regard, I lean more towards AOE. Yeah, sorry, bro. Big Bane, get rolled, L excuses, whatever you want to call it.
All right, so a real big high point is probably going to be over on this top side. Concept has been really hit or miss sometimes, and he can sandbag, or he can be that big tank that AoE need to just concentrate on these team fights. Quacker wants to fight. Quacker wants to throw hands. He is one of the more bloodthirsty top laners we have, currently currently number 1 in the solo kills. So I think this top lane pick between both of these squads is going to be one of the most impactful.
It's really interesting to me too, because Concept, I agree, has been up and down, but I think these last 2 weeks, especially when AOE have looked really good in the second round robin, he's actually been consistently good. And that's what makes this matchup interesting, because Quacker overcame Fake God yesterday, who kind of headshot him during the first round robin. And now Quacker, coming off the back of that one, is going to try and do the same thing to Concept. He's a big part of Supernova's success in the early game, securing things like Rift Heralds and snowballing those leads. And what's that top matchup going to be like?
See, one more ban coming out, and it's Tristana taken away. Not going to allow that to hit the Rift. So what do we go for on this first pick? We got a lot left onto the table that Supernova can go for. That's definitely pretty strong. Nico is one that pops out right away. And Robbie Bob does have a very, very flexible champion pool where he can include champions such.
It's true. I gotta say, the best champs we've seen from him this split are the Tristana and the Annie. One banned away, the other kind of fallen out of favor since some of the changes came through on the more recent patch. So instead, it's just going to be the first pick, Kaisa, which could reasonably go into either Robbie Bob or Sketch's hands. I gotta say, usually Supernova aren't a team to play for things besides like scaling, team fighting, and things like that. But yesterday against DSG, the game that they won, putting them in a decent playoffs contentious position, was them playing an early game comp and actually executing it well.
Don't forget what they picked for Sketch. The Draven. It's part of why I made him the Pasture King. If you look closely, you see all the gold coins, and up there, it was about a 1,200 gold cash-in that he had when he got his first kill. Really good job to stay alive on top of that to make sure he wasn't going to drop any of those adoration stacks. But here comes the first combo for AOE, and I really like this because Breezy has been an incredible engager for this squad. The Xayah plus Rel combo.
That's right, and I mean, looking at what AOE have been able to do in the past, Lynx is a player who we've had a lot of high hopes for, had a really good spring split, and I think has still been playing well in the summer. It's just been this adjustment, new support, new jungler, and then now we're seeing him kind of turn things up alongside the rest of AOE. He actually speaks a lot about how Breezy helps him with laning, because Breezy is a very competent and confident support, knows what he wants to do and when.
So the next lock-in coming in for Supernova, Robbie Bob has been playing this quite a bit now. Goes for the long range onto the Jace, gets a lot of poke in, as well as the Ivern coming up for Music. Kind of curious, have we seen Music on this pick in the past? Yeah, he did play it against Team Liquid.
He played it last week.
Yeah. Okay, interesting to see, because usually when I see Music, I like him being on engage and trying to set up something for both Robbie Bob and Quacker. We'll see what he can do with the Ivern.
Yeah, it's interesting. When we see the Kaisa and the Jace come through, there's already going to be a lot of poke, especially if Sketch goes for the AP build coming through here, because I am assuming Robbie Bob will be playing the Jace as he does so often. So you do have that bit of kind of ability to keep distance, poke them down. You have Daisy, who's really good with the CC, and kind of like that phantom sixth man working into your back pocket.
And now more of a mid-game spike for AOE. LeBlanc, Static Shiv, go ahead, push the side lanes. It's a good amount of shove having the Xayah on top of that. So now for AOE, they are going to start focusing out some of those engaged supports. As no support picked up by Supernova just yet. Alistair, Nautilus, great ways to start a fight for Supernova. At the moment for SN, they are going to ban away the top side, which I do think is a good strategy to go for, especially when you haven't shown your own top laner and you know Quacker is a beast.
Right, and now I want to know what this last pick is going to be. I was wondering if we were going to see the Rel jungle for Will, but Nocturne has been a really big popular pick, and you can see it with the Nautilus Alistar ban. There's options there for AOE so that they can dive in here. You have so much movement available to you, and you know what? The Wukong works just as well. I want to know what Trevor is going to be piloting here. I mean, the Rakan has been a big thing for him, and it does offer you that bit of CC, that kind of trigger pull that I like to see in a lot of team compositions, and I hope to see a strong side top laner for Quacker. Gotta go blind though.
For around the middle of the season, Wukong is actually what brought Will a lot of success, and I think a lot of that does come from the fact that Wukong acts as an engager. Breezy's really good at following that up, or just starting it up and allowing Will to have the follow-up engage. I remember when Breezy hex flashed over the wall with Alistair to start up a fight, and AoE just cleaned house with it. Again, AoE right now, they're sitting on a lot of momentum that kind of got derailed from Cincinnati Fear. Looking to bounce back off of that. Should be a tough fight. for
might actually
Supernova to have
lock
to deal with. I do want to see if this is going to get locked in.
Oh,
Yeah. That's a Quacker pick for you. That's his old tried and true favorite. Darius locked in.
If you haven't heard, Quacker started his career off as a Darius one trick back in 2021, and my God, when he got to pull this champion out, it was usually a delight to see, and he's confident to pull it in blind, and you have the response here. It's the Dr. Mundo for Concept. This is his second game, I believe, on the pick, because he did play it last weekend, and it is an interesting response here, because you're going to have a lot of HP, and if you fall behind a Supernova, that's a tank you will never kill.
I can't tell you how many times we've been in storyboard meetings and Mad Magical is just like, why doesn't Concept pick Mundo? Pick Mundo, damn it. And
I mean, I will say there are moments where he could have didn't. So, you know, I'm kind of with him there. And now this is not one of those times because he's locking it in Deseret.
Yeah, and it's one of his tried and true favorites going against. We pretty much got the signature picks for both of these players right now, both the Darius and Mundo. Makes me want to focus so much onto this top side once we do hit the rift coming through. I mean, this is going to be really exciting, B.
It is, and the top side is going to be super important because what have we been saying about Supernova? All of summer split, Deseret. It's about Quacker in the top side. We ask who else on this team is going to be able to step up and carry. We saw a bit of that from Sketch yesterday, but if Supernova want to increase their chances of locking in that top 8 spot, at least a win needs to come out. 2-0 though would be what really saves them and gives them a good chance of avoiding the promotion tournament.
Yeah, that 2-0 would be huge for them. Set them ahead of Maryville. And as we said in the pregame, it would put Maryville in a situation where they need a 2-0 to survive, which makes things rather tough for them. Make sure that they're actually going to get into playoffs. Supernova trying to be the bearer of bad news to the rest of the squads over in the bottom 3. But as we head into this match, let us know who you want to win. SN for Supernova, AOE for Area of Effect Gold. As well as we do got some subscriptions that you can go ahead and do for both the Path to LCS Challengers channel. Subscribe, you'll get some fancy emotes, and of course 50% of the proceeds do go to the teams they're playing right now, for example, in both Supernova and AOE.
And we kind of touched on what Supernova wants to be doing in this game. Quacker, of course, on a pick like Darius, you do want to snowball. You do want to be that dangerous force that can run down the members of AOE when he gets a lead, and you still have a lot of poke tools to keep people at bay on top of it. That's kind of how I'm expecting him to team fight, but AOE, I mean, you have a strong skirmishing mid-jungle duo here for Will and Darkwings. I'm imagining they're going to be going for some of these fights, going for ways that they can kind of get some of these early leads, and it has been a good look from Darkwings these last 2 weeks, Deseret, because Darkwings is a player I've been very critical of, and I said as much on broadcast last week. I said it on Twitter too, that he has really stepped it up these last 2 weeks. Not only has he not been a problem for the team, he has been a big contributing factor to some of AOE's success these last 2 weeks.
I've always had a lot of questions when it comes to his laning, but now that you're getting some synergy coming out from this AOE squad, seeing him play to the side lanes or even just sync up with Will has been working out tremendously for AOE, and it's great to see players as experienced as Darkwings having that moment to really step up for the squad and be part of that driving force that gave them such a momentous win streak. And now as we start watching where these junglers are pathing towards, it's going to end up bot side for both Will as well as Music. And at the same time where you have the strong push coming in from both Sketch and Trevor. But look at this, Quacker!
He's got
this is exactly why this pick is hyped up for Quacker, man. He is so dangerous on this Darius.
His one trick, he knows the limits and he plays within it. That's an easy first blood and the beginning of the snowball Supernova needed to see here. He gets the wave in, he gets the recall and come back. This couldn't be a better start.
Beautiful, beautiful. Quacker loves these champions that can just play with ruthless, raw aggression. That's why he said some of his favorite champions are like Olaf, Darius, anything that can take Ghost and get into your face, and he was in the face of Concept.
As long as he keeps that up, that's going to be an easy strong point for the Supernova squad. Playing towards that top side, playing towards the Rift Herald, that's what they want to do so badly. And it's just a good play from Quacker. Hits the level 3, gets access to all his spells. And I think the big thing is that once Concept lost the shield, the way that passive works for Mundo, something you're going to see is going to pop up basically when he goes for the pull. He denies that from Concept that actually would have let him live. And then he goes for the flash.
That's confidence right there for Quacker, knowing both of these kits. Sometimes it can be so awkward going against a champ that you don't see that often.
Oh, he knows.
Kind of works both ways for this one, but Quacker is well in tuned with this Darius, knows the limits of this champion, and man, that was a phenomenal solo bolo coming out for the Quack attack. Bottom lane, a little bit of a skirmish, but just a scrap, nothing too bloody.
And it's still the push that's been going through here for Sketch and Trevor the entire time. That pressure, it lets Music go for a little bit of those invade looks that we saw before, but no actual play has come of it yet. Again, Supernova, they always have their eyes on that Rift Herald, and that's likely not going to change here in this game, especially with their playoff hopes still on the line, even though their win yesterday against DSG was so important. AOE Gold, not a whole lot of action on their end either, especially because, you know, they haven't gotten a kill yet. But now that Will has gotten his first back, you're going to see him start to look for plays. I mean, Robbie Bob, wave going away from him here, but good vision does give him the opportunity to back off. This slow, steady gameplay in everywhere but the top lane does favor Supernova, so it's AOE who need to keep the ball rolling.
And you know, we talked a lot about the stakes of what this means for Supernova, especially if they get a 2-0 would be fantastic. For AOE Gold, this still does mean a little bit less. You know, they are secured for playoffs, but they can get an improvement in their seeding. They can get over to that 6th place. Evil Geniuses will be doing battle with Team Liquid a little bit later on the path to LCS stream. But hey, any bump in the standings does mean a lot for getting into playoffs, as we get an engage coming out from Trevor and Will. Ooh, a quick dash from Trevor to safety.
Quick dash and also a flash. Trevor getting pressured out there does give a lot of space here for the invade. Unfortunately, not a camp steal because, you know, Ivern works how he works. It's easy for Music to go ahead and just claim that Raptors camp with the smite. Now, though, there's the opportunity for AOE to go and start this Drake. You even see on the bottom lane Sketch being careful with his with actually approaching this wave, but it's actually just going to lead to AOE backing off. They don't want to contest it. They don't want to fight right now. Will has camps to farm.
Ooh, flash from Lynx. Supernova able to get that out, but the feathers fly onto Sketch, get a route through. Music arrives, but it's too far, too late. The fight is done.
He's just here to cover in case things get a little too mixy, and they know Will was in the bottom side jungle. So you got to be sure that you can defend your bot lane if the enemy jungle shows up, but he's going to do more than that. He sees the low health bars. He knows Lynx has no flash, so Music wants to take advantage, or at the very least, make sure this wave gets in.
And it's still a while before level 6, so Lynx is not going to have the Feather Storm, not going to have the flash. You got to play incredibly safe. Here, the AoE marksman, and there it is. Able to get one tag through. They're trying to collapse right on the Lynx, but the Feathers returning it, find a route onto the back line. And now this is looking terrible for Supernova, but Lynx is a little bit too low. It's going to be tricky to actually push the momentum. And Supernova get away, but Quacker solo kills again.
Wow, that's basically a win on both sides of the map here. Music had to flash, but he manages to survive, and you have your top laner in Quacker.
What?
Hitting in a giant minion wave, able to get a kill, and we're just losing all these kills off screen. Will finally get something rolling into AoE's favor, and I'm glad it's the mid lane that he is attacking because Dark Wings does need gold.
Oh man, kills happening all over the place. We can't even keep up with them at this point, but yeah, nice kills being picked up. Definitely returning one back over Will. We'll be able to grab that. Well, as Quacker is still kind of popping off out here. Sets out a very interesting situation. Let's actually take a look at how the solo bolo went down.
Yeah, I'm so interested. I really like that he has the boots of swiftness as well. Concept realizes he is in so much danger. Immediately pops the ultimate. Problem is, you can run, but you can't hide. The Noxian Guillotine from Quacker is taking you down.
Oh, man. And then in the mid lane, it was Robbie Bob, who was alone on low health thanks to the poke coming out from Dark Wings. It does set up an easy gank for Will. With that flash, he follows it up. Wow. Right from the pole, and Robbie Bob goes down.
And Robbie Bob, that was a big wave. He had no teleport. I understand that inclination to stay and be like, oh, please, let me just get this wave. But unfortunately, he not only loses the wave, he loses his life. But Supernova can be happy and play to their usual win condition. Rift Herald 1 easily picked up because no one wants to fight Quacker.
How are AOE going to reply to this? How are they going to try and open up the map back? I look over towards Will once again. Will has been very crucial in a lot of the plays that AOE have made across the map. They usually play through both their jungle and support to get things rolling, to get the ball going. So for Will, to be in such a spot and to be on this Wukong, it does put him in a position of decision-making for AOE.
Yeah, at this point, though, he's all right because he is slightly ahead in farm. As Wukong, that is exactly what you want to happen. And now he has access to the level 6. The Cyclone is up. And now he has a lot more playmaking potential with that ultimate coming through. We even see the move from him and Darkwings, but it's actually just going to be Will going for an invade here. Feeling really good about his ability to 1v1 music with mid and bot pushing, but we may see a skirmish come through for this red buff.
Yeah, the bottom lane of Supernova, we're hovering towards that direction. It still is a little bit dangerous, though, because if you get caught in a choke point, Cyclone will screw you up. And Sketch and Trevor don't want anything to deal with that. Again, Will is a big force. I think he's made a really good late season case for himself on the topics of like most valuable prospect and such.
He's a player who we've been very excited about making his return, someone we only really see play during the summer splits. And has always been a player who's shown a lot of potential.
Yep, summer
so
child.
Seeing that continue, that's right. Our sweet summer child is a good look, and Robbie Bob is dead.
Oh, yep, Robbie Bob's going down. Darkwings will get the solo bolo 1v1, but speaking of,
No way.
Quacker wants another, and he doesn't give a duck, man. Concept bleeds.
Oh, wait.
The passive, no, the ultimate
that's
isn't
it?
enough.
Oh,
No, take
my
away.
God.
It's a bloody top lane, baby. Quacker gets another.
Oh my days, 3-0 for Supernova, and it's, or rather 3 kills for Supernova, and it's all on a Quacker. And you can just see these opposite results coming from both sides of the map here. And the question's gonna be, who's gonna prevail when these opposites clash? Quacker is 3-0, getting really close to that stride breaker, which is a big spike for the Darius. And people like Will, Darkwings are accelerated in their own right as well. As the Darius, you want to pressure people like Will. You want to pressure people like Lynx. Even though Lynx is playing the Xayah, he's got to be really careful about how he navigates these team fights. Quacker is going to be looking for these angles, and he's going to be looking ways to take down this Cyan.
You cannot slack on the Quack because he will clap right back. My word, this dude is an absolute beast on this champion. Getting so much gold now. And this is going to start to get terrifying for AOE. Keep in mind, he is taking the Ghost and the Flash, so he can get really deep into that backline and start to try and hunt people down. Doesn't need that much damage to get a Noxian Guillotine to take your head.
No, especially not with how accelerated he is. And you can see it, most gold on the entire Rift by a considerable margin. It's only him and Darkwings who are at that upper echelon, but even then, Quacker is still reigning supreme. And for the moment, is that only point of power, is the sole owner of what that gold lead you're seeing is here, that's aggregate, even though it's going back and forth. So right now, AOE still in a solid position overall. They got the first Drake, they can play towards Dragon stacking and that Dragon Soul. With Quacker on this top side, you're not really worried about people like Sketch and Trevor and Robbie Bob because you set them behind.
Music at this point is like, hey man, come on, share some of the gold here. Share some of the love. What's going on? And Quacker walks up over to Concept. Unfortunately gonna miss. So they'll just throw down the Rift Herald, as well as Daisy. We got all the Pokemon now up here in this top side as a charge comes through and more gold into the pocket of Quacker.
Oh, they want to keep it going. I mean, music is tanking. Oh, wait a minute.
Oh no, not again, not again. Quacker can't keep doing it, man. He's so bloodthirsty and he's leaving pools of it all over the top side.
He can't keep getting away with it. Now he's 4-0. He's going to be sharing that first brick gold. I know we just looked at it, but we got to look at that gold again, man. Where is Quacker and how far ahead of everyone else is he? And even though he is such a big point of power, and this is a great start for Supernova, AOE, they have their teamfight win condition. Kill Darius. If you somehow blow him up, that gold lead you're seeing doesn't matter anymore. Useless, worthless, pointless. But
he's still a tanky boy. And that bleed really does bring a lot of damage. You get one decimate in the middle of 4 or 5. That's a lot of damage even with the dot there, so Yeah, you got to be careful against Quacker. He's going to have a strong lead coming out. And for Concept, it's going to be a long, long while before he finds the chance to really make an impact in this game. He's supposed to be that damage soak. He's supposed to be that sponge. But right now, the only thing he's soaking in is a lot of the blood that's coming out from his wounds inflicted by Quacker.
That's right. He's at least got the Heartsteel. A little later than he maybe wanted, but we'll have the opportunity to start stacking that up. The problem is, Concept.
Oh no. Concept. Dangerous in that brush. Quacker might think there's something back for him right now. He does have a deep ward over where that red buff is, but not too much over on that try. So instead, we'll play it safe against Concept this time, and finally we get to watch another lane.
Yeah, and you know what? That's a good call. That Temperance is really important because he's got a big bouncy on his head. It would be a big shutdown if someone else on the side of AOE pick it up, especially if Will and Dark Wings make a move to that top side. But now that vision we talked about is paying its dividends as they're able to pressure and set up music to go for a pretty easy steal here with the smite. And of course, Herald number 2 is an easy grab for him.
Quacker's so scary. And Supernova will keep playing towards that side of the map. AOE, all that being said, like the point you made a little bit earlier still rings true. Quacker going down means that Supernova will not have that much to really bring to the fight.
Yeah.
And Lynx is farming well. Darkwings is doing well. The gold is a little bit more well spread over on AOE's side.
Absolutely, and it is still on the right people as well. Like Will has gotten that Divine Sunder, a big spike for the Wukong, and he's keeping pace with most of the map, which is one of the most important parts of it. Darkwings getting turret gold of his own. Look at the bottom side of the map too. This is kind of similar to the criticisms we were giving Maryville, even though it may not work, it may not end up as poorly for Supernova. And it's the top side focus, leaving your mid and bot side to struggle a little bit. Haven't seen much from Music in the mid lane. He showed up once or twice in the bot lane, and as a result, the rest of the map for AOE is very strong at the moment. They have this vision making sure they should be able to secure some of these trakes. Supernova know this. That's why they've rotated Quacker down to this bottom side, and they're summoning the Herald in the mid lane.
Right now, Supernova are kind of losing out in some of this pacing. The turret plate's going down. This Rift Herald isn't getting you anything other than damage onto that tower. And now look at the gold. It's going right even. AoE are weathering the storm. They lost a lot in the top side. That is where their weakness was. Everywhere else, it's not exactly thriving, but we're starting to see it bloom.
Right, and you can see it like you said. In fact, there's a small lead in AoE's favor because Concept is able to get this turret. But you still have an obscene amount of gold on Quacker. He's gonna be... This game is about him now, realistically. Because the question is going to be, if Quacker can start resetting, get that hemorrhage passive on multiple members, and just keep casting that Noxian Guillotine, Supernova will win fights. But if AoE, using the gold they earned for their carries, manage to shut him down, Supernova don't have a chance in hell. So that's the game plan. Can you silence the Quack, or will he smack you back?
This feels like a movie trailer at this point. One man.
Yeah.
No. Back it up. One duck. 9 opponents. Quacker in Noxian Guillotine. And all right, here we go. AoE. Try to make a play on Quacker, but no, he's chilling.
That shutdown we were talking about. But there it is. They recognize it too. That's the win con for AoE. Take this Darius out of the picture. And I gotta say, Supernova also wisely taking the Drake with that Herald pressure they had in the mid lane, slowing the dragon stacking of AoE.
And a strong control over this bottom quadrant jungle of Supernova right now. It's still a while before we get anything towards the side of the map, 3 minutes before that dragon does come up. They already dropped the second Rift Herald. There's not too much to fight for the next couple of minutes. Right now it's going to be about lane states, his best farm as he can. Quacker holding off on the bottom side. And a reminder that he does not have teleport for the later stages of the game.
Right, so he's going to need to be on the side of the map where Supernova's next move is going to be, or anything they need to respond to as well. Right now, there's nothing on the map to play for, realistically. Dragons in a few minutes. No one's doing Baron on spawn. So we're just going to be chilling, and you're just going to see AoE and Will look for plays, especially when you know Quacker's on the other side of the map.
Yeah, AoE. shoving hard over towards this top side. They're moving as a unit. That's one of the things I do notice right here. Even calling back Darkwings at certain moments after he does get the wave shoved in. So the setups are being found by AOE, but there's, again, not really that much to go after. We should probably start looking at what's going to happen for that next Drake that will spawn if Supernova want to push for that. What kind of checklist they got to have. Already the very first one on it for Supernova is get Quacker into that vicinity.
Right, and that's the idea. There's a fight that they want. Quacker needs to be set up for success. He needs SN to get there first so that he can get that kind of flank angle and get the drop on people like Lynx and Will, like we were discussing in the earlier minutes of this game. Supernova, you don't need to go for these next couple of Drakes, Eric. You can if you want to continue denying them from AoE, but the fact is, the soul stacking is basically gone for the next little while, and at this point, you just want to play to fight.
The only thing I would be worried about for AoE, for Supernova in particular, if they don't go after these dragons, is AoE dictate the map a lot more than Supernova do. Some of that being because of the ghost taken by Quacker, but of course the LeBlanc being able to have that side lane control means that it's going to be harder for Supernova to position on the map to counteract what AoE want to do.
And I gotta say, I'm glad you bring that up, because that's exactly what's happening right now. You can see that AoE are constantly playing away from Quacker, looking to pressure people like Robbie Bob, who's, I mean, dead right now. His third death. He's been just the subject of so much attention from AoE's side, and it's led to a 2-0 Darkwings here. The Ludens has been built, but the amount of time has given Supernova not 1, but 2 turrets worth of gold. As long as they can walk away from this, it is a win.
Yeah, but I don't think Will and Breezy will let them walk away. Those are your 2 engagers, and there is the Wombo combo from the support jungle duo. Music runs low. Can they end that too? No, because Quacker has arrived. 3 versus 1. He's bringing the hurt, he's bringing the pain, but AoE have brought more friends, and they will take down Chogdario Chopman.
And that's a brutal fight. Quacker really testing the limits there, but Concept's ultimate, it's at rank 2. He's got more health stacked up. It's harder for him to get that execute with the Noxian Guillotine and start the resetting here. Darkwings is now 3-0, and this is the start of AoE really asserting their control on the map here, Eric. At this point, we've seen that Quacker can be taken down, and he gave away a lot of gold in the process there with that shutdown.
And that shutdown going right over to Darkwings.
Yeah.
Oof, that's a big one for AoE right now. And honestly, it felt a little bit disrespectful from Supernova after taking that tier 2 to stick around and go after the inhibitor tower.
Right, and I don't even necessarily have a problem with that. I mean, you see the catch out that ended up coming through onto Lynx because of the attention bot side we talked about. But look at this. They get the kill. Yeah, they stay a little long on the mid-tier 3, but all you do is walk up now. Because you force Concept away, you have Quacker waiting in the wings, but instead, they stuck around. They gave enough time for this engage to come through, and even when everyone was about to get out, Quacker, he's like, you know, maybe I could do something here.
No, I still feel like it's disrespectful. Go look at the map and where Breezy and Will were. They walked right over a ward. Supernova knew that duel was coming, and they stuck around for way too long. I mean, credit to them, they still got turrets, they still got economy going into their hands, but they didn't need to lose out on that last exchange.
No, they didn't, but they did. And it's 1,000 in favor of AoE now. They've turned things around despite the tremendous gold lead. Quacker still probably has over Concept, and boy.
Oh, here comes Breezy. They find Music. Concept's there. Will throw the cleavers to slow him down. Quacker, does he fancy himself another 1v3 while he's got the backup of Trevor? What a knockup coming out! And now Quacker can clap down onto AoE. He goes for the chase, looking for more killer instinct. Comes out from Sketch. Quacker, oh so close, pulls them right back in. Get over here and get stomped! Quacker, 2 back-to-back doubles.
Oh my god, AoE, they ran right into Quacker's hands, and Supernova blown the game wide open. It's only Darkwing, but how can one mage stop the entirety of AoE going for the first Baron?
Man, Quacker's a beast, and what an engage to come out from Trevor. Darkwings is trying, man, but there's no denying this Baron away from Supernova. Ooh, might try and take Trevor in the process, but now that the team's done, they want a piece of Dark Wings. Dark Wings has a long way to run to get over to safety. Trevor forces out his flash, backs out before Distortion can take him out. And now Dark Wings, you've stayed for too long. And Robbie Bob, who you've spent the entire game putting in the dirt, just dug himself right out of it.
A big shutdown going over, and the Turo Baron buff going into Supernova's hands. Oh my god. They have turned things around here in this game one. This is the game that they needed to win so they could increase the hopes of making playoffs. And it started off with the AOE engage, but look at Lynx. He chose this pathing because he didn't want to get pinched on because his flash was still on cooldown. His ult was still on cooldown, but that decision, it cost AOE everything because you have no damage and everyone into the waiting arms of Quacker.
Oh man, you needed that Feather Storm a little bit earlier to get the Blade Caller before Quacker got close enough, because remember, Quacker takes Ghost. That is a very fast man with a very big axe, and he's taking heads. That was 4 he took in that last. Now we have a 2.2 gold lead coming out for Supernova. Baron buff as well. Let's go Quacker as he takes control of this game.
Certainly has. Rizzy says those late night techno streams paying off for Quacker. You can say that again, as Supernova are now in a very powerful position. It isn't just Quacker anymore. They've all gotten so much gold, and they're looking to use that along with this Baron buff to start knocking down more structures. AOE trying to run interference. But if they're only stalling the inevitable.
For Supernova, that ward over in the deep jungle is very, very valuable, and that's why Dark Wings is leaving to try and take that, because you want a flank angle to come out of both Will and Breezy. Breezy's already on the angle. He's trying to find it right now, but this is a tricky one to get when you have to deal with all of the Ivern grass. It's currently covering up the rest of the squad. Breezy still looking for the angle in, but just can't find it.
You can see it, Supernova, they really want this tier 2 turret. They're not interested in the mid play. They're not interested in the bot play. They will stay here until the Baron buff wears off. Daisy's back. And at this point, all the wave clear from AOE. Will it still prevail? They're getting a lot of poke off of Dark Wings, so I think Supernova need to actually back off here. AOE somewhat weather the storm.
Yeah, smart move for AOE, a smart move for Supernova as well. Especially when Sketch got low right there. You don't want to fight with your carry not being well enough to stick into these skirmishes. But great for AoE, as you said, did weather the storm. Now the next situation, 30 seconds before that dragon spawns. Does look like it's going to be in the crosshairs of AoE. You already have a teleport to the bottom lane. Yep. Darkwing's got control of that wave. 20 seconds, dragon will be up.
And you can just see the gold graph and what kind of game it has been. Up and down, up and down. And now it's Darkwings actually who remains at the top of the gold standings here. He's so strong on this LeBlanc, and he's kind of the answer to AoE's problem. You can skip the front line. You can kind of go around Quacker, go over walls with the distortion, and you can take people like Sketch out of the picture. Numbers advantage, even though Quacker is the one to worry about, will still benefit you as AoE.
And you can see that Sketch and Robbie are kind of struggling to land this poke. Yeah, not really finding the mark to scout out that brush right there. Sketch throwing out the missiles. That means you don't get the reset onto the missiles as well. But here we go. Posturing forward over to the dragon. 6k health remains. AoE would get soul point from this. Darkwing still hopping in with the distortions to run some interference, but Quacker is the one leading the charge. Going to be that big plow for the Supernova pickup truck, and ooh,
no,
it's pulled back. Will not feeling too good about posturing up. We might have a smite fight soon. Music not far off, and Will's able to secure it. Dragon soul point for AoE.
That was so dangerous. Supernova though, they're popping the Shurelias.
Oh, man, he's so fast, Quacker. He didn't even use the Ghost this time, just that Shurelias. Make some speed on over, and now it's time for the Ghost. Ooh, Quacker looking for Link's feathers. Blade Caller onto nothing. Quacker's still posturing up. He doesn't have much in terms of cooldowns, though. Might get focused down. Will going onto him. Cyclone going to get some work going for AoE.
Oh,
but gets shoved down by Quacker. He doesn't have enough health to continue. Needs to land a decimate onto multiple members of AoE to continue. So AoE feel the momentum shifting over to their side. Darkwings following through. Quacker walks up, looks for the decimate. A bit of healing back. Able to get a big one, but it's a shutdown found by Lynx. Darkwings follow suit, and AoE back and forth. These teams slug out.
Taking a page out of Cincinnati Fear's playbook, AoE are the ones making the comeback this game. huge shutdown, an ace coming through, and now it's Supernova who got to be feeling the heat. And it all started off so good with Quacker and the rest of Supernova managing to get basically Link scared, get his ult, get his flash, and get the kill onto Will. The problem is Quacker, when he is out of the fight, when he is dead primarily, Supernova no longer have a team fight. And even though he got a kill, even though he didn't die, he had to run, which means this fight was never going to work. His health was too low, and AOE recognized that was their window.
And they capitalized to take down the raid boss. That is Quacker, to put him low early so he couldn't be big in this turnaround. And of course, the focus, brilliant coming out from AOE. This is why this team is such a threat. When they find engages going out for them, they'll clean up the back end of that fight. You know, brilliant from Lynx as well. Got away from the engage of Trevor using that Featherstorm. If they caught out Lynx, that was a completely different fight.
And I gotta say, Darklings 2 has been having a great game one so far on this LeBlanc, constantly being that poke threat, constantly being the big team damage. I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of this he has most damage in the game. And you can see it, 10 stacks on the Medjais, death cap in his inventory. And he is a force to be reckoned with. Even with how strong Quacker is, AOE have so many dangers on the other side, and we're seeing examples of how limited this Darius can be despite the gold that he has.
Playing with the Fog of War right now is AOE. As right now with the Baron spawned, could be a dance coming very, very soon. I mean, both of these teams, I imagine they're liking their odds given certain situations, given certain circumstances, because the gold is still relatively even when you look at this in the grand scheme of things. Still a great team fight for AOE, so you have to watch out for Will and Breezy. They've been pretty clutch in finding what they need to, especially Will in that last fight. The Cyclone on a Quacker held him down long enough. But now AOE with control of the Baron side river, it's Supernova who have to walk up.
Stuff though, you can see it. Supernova, the poke is really online now that the Ludens is here, now that Robbie Bob is getting some of this itemization alongside Sketch. You can see what kind of pressure they're able to exert, forcing people to recall, forcing AOE off the map. Supernova though, choosing to move as 5 basically the entire time, not really trying to deal with more than one lane at once, and they're just trying to keep focus on this Baron pit. The problem is they need to push out this top wave, set up Vision topside, because they need to set up for this dragon. AOE, they have Dragon Soul spawning in a minute's time, and they are not well set up to prevent AOE taking the Baron instead.
Yeah, this was a great setup for AOE to resolve what Supernova are doing right there. They sent Concept over to the wave, which would have lost a massive wave if he didn't get there anytime sooner. But the fact that he's in bottom lane right now means that he can shove this way further to set up for the Strike that's going to be spawning, as you had mentioned, Beat. And AOE already back on the reset, waiting a little bit longer for Lynx to get his final purchases, and they can get control of the river, forcing Supernova's hand.
And you can see it, Sketch moved up to that top wave, but he knew his window was closing on when you need to back to get to these objectives in time. They didn't even get to push the top wave as well as you can hope, and there's certainly no vision in favor of Supernova. So AOE happy to push this mid wave, but actually aren't going to trade for the Baron. They know they have first move, they know it's their Mountain Soul, and they want to be the ones to force Supernova to decide.
You can tell right now that AOE don't want to just freely give up this Baron. They want to make sure they play this right. And it's going to be a little tricky for them because they have a lot of pressure on their hands at the moment. Even in the bot lane, that minion wave Concept had guided in, has crashed into the inhibitor tower.
50-50.
Now on the inhibitor. The Baron getting low, the back end engaged, found by Trevor, still looking for more, it's going to be Supernova, but you got to count on Quacker. 3 have fallen, one head taken by Quacker, but he has no more health to continue, can't even get the Decimate off on time. Robbie Bob, the final witness to the slaughter that AOE brought upon Supernova.
And what a comeback off the back of this game as well. Darkwings is TPing in to put this to a close. Supernova no longer have a chance to solely, or rather put the screws to Maryville in playoffs contention. They only have one win to get, and they still have to hope Maryville fails tomorrow.
AOE While they might have derailed against Cincinnati Fear, they get back to business against Supernova. Some very, very brilliant engages, some very brilliant angles, and they're going to take that game, which was so back and forth. In fact, pull that gold graph up. Pull it up right now. Look at how many times this gold swung.
And what did I tell you? Darkwing's most damage by a country mile. Not even Quacker could compare. And you're right, it was a back and forth game, but ultimately, AOE played the map much better than Supernova did. And when it came time to it, when they had those crucial item spikes, they managed to limit Quacker's impact in these team fights. No one else could step up.
And a lot of this did come from the side lane play that you had from players such as Darkwings, who forced the issue for Supernova, who will be our player of the game for this one. This LeBlanc, I mean, there wasn't much of an answer. When Quacker doesn't have teleport, it means Supernova have to play the map so much more careful when LeBlanc is good at playing the map.
It's not just that too. Will put a lot of attention mid lane and allowed Darkwings to be able to really snowball this mid lane matchup. Robbie Bob had no impact because he was so far behind in gold, and Darkwings, he had the opposite go for him. He had all the gold, he had all the damage, and he had so much impact.
Well, we want to tell you right now that LCS Challengers League is brought to you by Turo, the world's largest car-sharing marketplace, where you can book about any car you want for any occasion. Forget about those borrow rentals with Turo. We're going to take a moment to take a short break. When we return, we'll have Mad Magical and the Rally Cry halftime show.